The Cold War, United States versus Soviet Union. A history lesson by Mr. Change. Origins and ideological divide. The Cold War was a state of geopolitical tension between the United States and the Soviet Union, which lasted roughly from the end of World War II in 1945 to the early 1990s. It was primarily a clash between two superpowers, each with its own distinct ideology. The United States championed democracy, capitalism, and individual freedoms, while the Soviet Union stood for communism, planned economies, and collective ideals. Did you know that the term Cold War was coined by an American financier and presidential advisor, Bernard Baruch, in 1947? Key events and proxy wars. The Cold War was characterized by numerous proxy wars, in which the United States and the Soviet Union supported rival factions in conflicts around the world. Let's explore some of the notable events during this period. The Berlin Blockade and Airlift. In 1948, the Soviet Union blocked all land access to West Berlin, leading to the famous Berlin Airlift, in which Western powers supplied the city by air for over a year. The Korean War. In 1950, North Korea, backed by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea, supported by the United States and its allies. This conflict escalated tensions between the two superpowers. The Cuban Missile Crisis. In 1962, the world stood on the brink of nuclear war when the United States discovered Soviet missile sites in Cuba. A tense standoff ensued, with both sides ultimately reaching a peaceful resolution. During the Cuban Missile Crisis, the world came closest to a nuclear war, with President John F. Kennedy and Soviet Premier Nikita Khrushchev engaging in intense negotiations to avert disaster. Space race and arms race. The Cold War witnessed intense competition between the United States and the Soviet Union, not only politically and militarily but also in scientific and technological advancements. The space race, both superpowers sought to demonstrate their technological prowess by exploring space. The Soviet Union made history by launching the first artificial satellite, Sputnik, in 1957. While the United States achieved the monumental feat of landing astronauts on the Moon in 1969. Yuri Gagarin, a Soviet cosmonaut, became the first human to journey into space in 1961, making a full orbit around the Earth. The arms race. The United States and the Soviet Union engaged in a relentless competition to build and stockpile nuclear weapons. This arms race escalated tensions and created a constant fear of a catastrophic conflict. Proxy wars and hotspots. The Cold War saw a series of conflicts fought indirectly between the United States and the Soviet Union. These proxy wars occurred in different regions worldwide, each fueled by the ideological struggle between the superpowers. Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a proxy conflict between North Vietnam, supported by the Soviet Union, and South Vietnam, supported by the United States. This war lasted for nearly 2 decades and became a symbol of the broader Cold War struggle. Afghanistan War. In 1979, the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan to support a communist government, triggering a prolonged conflict against Afghan resistance fighters, known as the Mujahideen. The United States, along with other Western countries, provided support to the Mujahideen, further intensifying the proxy war. Korean War. As mentioned earlier, the Korean War was another significant proxy war during the Cold War era. The conflict arose when North Korea, supported by the Soviet Union and China, invaded South Korea. The United States and its allies came to the aid of South Korea, leading to a prolonged and devastating war. The Vietnam War is often referred to as the Living Room War because it was the first conflict to be extensively covered by television, bringing the horrors of war into people's homes. The fall of the Berlin Wall and end of the Cold War. The Cold War era finally came to an end in the late 1980s and early 1990s, marked by significant events that reshaped the global political landscape. The fall of the Berlin Wall. On November 9, 1989, the Berlin Wall, which had divided East and West Berlin since 1961, was demolished. This symbolic event signified the reunification of Germany and marked a turning point in the Cold War. Perestroika and Glasnost. The Soviet Union underwent a series of reforms in the 1980s, led by Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev. Perestroika aimed to restructure the Soviet economy, while Glasnost promoted openness and increased political freedom. Dissolution of the Soviet Union. On December 26, 1991, the Soviet Union officially dissolved, bringing an end to the Cold War. The former Soviet republics gained independence, and the United States emerged as the sole global superpower. The Cold War had significant cultural impacts as well. It influenced popular culture, including films, literature, music, and even fashion trends. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Leave your comments down below with any questions or thoughts. This was Mr. Change History, and until next time.